Good morning and welcome to Medicare Made Simple with Medicare Myriam. Medicare Made Simple is brought to you by United Insurance Experts. Call today 561-464-CARE. That's 561-464-CARE. Now here's Medicare Myriam.
Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Miriam with United Insurance Experts. United Insurance Experts is not affiliated with or endorsed by the federal Medicare program. At this time, United Insurance Experts represents 10 organizations with 49 different products. If you would like to know all of your options, please contact Medicare at 1-800-MEDICARE or Medicare.gov. Today, I'm excited to welcome back a very special guest who does incredible work for seniors and families right here in our community. Joining us today is Amanda, the owner and president of Care Patrol of Boca Raton and North Broward. Amanda is a certified senior advisor and a certified dementia practitioner. And in 2025, through Care Patrol, she became an aligned care, value-based care specialist, which is a big deal when it comes to improving outcomes for older adults. She's also a founding member of the Miami branch of SHEEF, a professional women's leadership network, has served on the Boca Raton Alzheimer's Walk Committee for the past 3 years, and in 2025 was recognized as a Volunteer of the Year. On top of that, Amanda is an active member of Health Equity Coalition. Amanda, welcome back to the show. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Good morning, and thank you so much. I'm so glad to be back, Miriam.
Yes, I'm so excited, and I know there's a lot of new things happening to Care Patrol. Amanda, I understand Care Patrol has been around for over 30 years. For listeners who may not be familiar, can you share what Care Patrol does and what really makes it unique compared to other senior placement and other advisory services?
Absolutely. So many refer to Care Patrol as a senior placement agency, but what I would tell you is we are so much more than that. Care Patrol actually started this industry over 30 years ago, and we were founded by a social worker. And in that particular instance, what led him to finding Care Patrol was he was working with a young lady, and she was really distraught, and she couldn't figure out what was going on with her mom. She had made the decision to help her by moving her into assisted living. However, there was a lot of research and work that didn't go into it. And a lot of that was because she just didn't know and understand what needed to be done. At that moment, he jumped into gear. He worked with her. He helped her, and he helped her find a safe place for her mom to be able to thrive. And then from there, he had the idea of finding Care Patrol. So since then, we're all over the U.S. We have over 200 owners across the U.S. as well as in Canada. So all states are represented with the exception of 2.
Oh.
And so one day, the state of Mississippi and the state of Louisiana, we hope to have Care Patrol owners there.
Oh, wow.
But what we do is we really focus on outcomes for our clients. We don't just stop at the quote unquote move-in as placement typically indicates. We are there following up, connecting with our clients well after their move-in. And we are really focused on how do we help the individual be in the right situation to thrive. So regardless of the diagnosis, regardless of it's an individual that's 85 and they may have several chronic conditions that they're battling, being in the right, safe place can allow them to thrive. Same thing with an individual with dementia. Getting them in the right situation allows them to thrive and helps set them up for the best time in their remaining years.
Right. Now, how are you, I know you mentioned in different states, for those people that are moving, right? So let's say they're in New York or California and they're moving to Florida, and vice versa. That could work as well, right?
Oh, it absolutely can work as well. There are many clients that, since I'm based here in Florida, there are many clients I work with that are moving into our area from New York, North Carolina. I've helped individuals from Colorado and other states move to Florida. And on the vice versa, I've helped clients move from here to Texas to Arizona to New York. So it really depends on the client and their family and what's the best situation for them. And what I love about Care Patrol and our network is our owners, we all genuinely care about our clients. So we work together behind the scenes to help move things smoothly for our clients so that for them it's an easier transition.
Yes, and I love that. Since the last time you were on the show, you've taken a new role as a value-based care specialist. What exactly does value-based care mean, and why should our listeners, especially seniors and caregivers, care about that?
Simply put, a value-based care specialist focuses on outcomes for older adults. It's built to support healthcare professionals in delivering better outcomes for older adults. So when we think about it from a client and family perspective, our focus is really keeping loved ones safe, healthy, stable, and most importantly, out of the hospital. We help find the best care solutions to support their long-term wellness goals. So what is it they're really focused on? And that we help them maintain independence. We help them improve health as well as extend the quality of life beyond the short-term solutions. So think about an individual that's coming out of a rehab, for example, and depending on why they were there, they may have been in the hospital for a couple weeks, in the rehab for a month or maybe more. You need specialized support to help you in the short term, but we are also thinking about long term.
Right.
What do we really want, and what do you want for your long-term goals? Is your goal to get back to a place where you are able to move independently? Maybe that means you're still using a walker, but how do we get you to a place that's going to help you focus on that so that you can thrive? So we really partner closely with healthcare professionals as well as the family, and then also with various communities that we're working with to identify the right solution. And when it comes to working with healthcare professionals, what's really important for them in working with us as value-based care specialists is we help to reduce costly readmissions that trigger value-based care penalties, because this is something that's very important to the healthcare system. So when you're speaking with individuals that are working in hospitals and rehabs, they're keenly focused on readmissions. So when someone leaves, they don't want them coming right back to the hospital, because that means maybe something didn't happen the way it should have happened.
Right.
So if we're able to get you to the right care environment that supports your continued recovery and working towards your long-term goals, you're not going back into the hospital. And then you also, in turn, are thriving and you're working towards your goals. So for us, it's really and truly about outcomes.
Yes. Now, going back to, you mentioned long-term. Now, I mean, families often believe that Medicare will cover long-term care or placement when health declines. When does the misconception usually show up, and how do you help families navigate that reality?
Oh, you know what? That is an excellent question, and I have to tell you, I receive it probably at least once a day. There are sometimes I receive that question multiple times a day.
Yeah.
Medicare is really for your health care coverage. It is not the same that would be used for assisted living or for memory care or in a long-term care setting.
Yes.
It can cover your health care costs. So you know this, doctor visits. It may cover some or a portion of your hospital stay.
Or short-term.
Or rehab.
More of a
Exactly, short-term.
Correct. When it comes...
However, when it comes to a long-term care need, honestly, in most cases, that's going to be considered private pay. which means you are looking at savings, you're looking at long-term care insurance, you're looking at any type of retirement funds that you may have. And in some cases, for individuals that truly need the financial support, there could be assistance there through the Medicaid program. And in that case, I always recommend working with a Medicaid specialist or working directly with an attorney that focuses on applying for Medicaid and going through the process of everything that's needed.
Perfect. So when you have, let's say we have a listener right now that is concerned about this, right? That is aware that, Medicare, that just found out Medicare doesn't cover long-term and is concerned with this, could they call Care Patrol and be guided to?
Absolutely. They can give us a call because when we're working with our clients, there's a few questions that we're going to ask.
Okay.
And some of it, I'll go right back to being a value-based care specialist. For us, we are focused on the whole person. And so when we're focusing on the whole person, we're looking at 8 specific dimensions of wellness. We're looking at emotional, physical, social, spiritual, intellectual, occupational, environmental, and financial. Because we know that when we're focused on the whole person, we're able to help families make proactive choices that help to promote longevity, resilience, as well as thriving at every stage of life. And in this particular case, that financial aspect, if we are not helping the family think through and start to ask the right questions there, that's going to create other challenges for them in other aspects of their life. So if a client contacts us and they want to know, what are my options? How do I prepare for this? Or what's there for me to possibly tap into? We absolutely go through that full discussion with them. And then if we need to refer them to a specialist that we have reviewed and vetted and potentially have already worked with in the past, so we thoroughly understand their capabilities, then we can make the appropriate referrals for our clients.
Perfect. Now, I know we're in the middle of the show, but do you mind providing a number for those listeners? How do they contact you?
One of the best ways to contact me is to contact me via my office. That number is 561-270-5727. And I'll repeat that. It's 561-270-5727. Our phones are answered all day, 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And on the weekends, 8 a.m. to noon.
Oh, perfect.
But if we are not there, you can always leave a message. And we follow up.
Perfect. Now, can you explain a little bit about Aligned Care?
So Aligned Care is actually Care Patrol's trademark program. And it's a certification that Care Patrol designed specifically for all of our owners as well as the different employees. And Aligned Care, it's value-based care. It's that focus on outcomes. And what's interesting with that is it's really what we were already doing, but now with that, we were already capturing statistics and tracking what's happening with our clients. Now we are just doing it in a more formalized manner. So for example, when I work with a client and we identify the right place for them where they are able to thrive, remember earlier I said we don't just stop at the move-in. We're there. And continuously following up and checking in with our clients. Now we're just introducing more statistics to support what we were already doing. So we are formally documenting, here's how our client was doing at 30 days. Here's how they were doing at 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, etc. That helps us be able to sit down and have a fact-based discussion about how we truly are improving outcomes for our clients.
Yes. Now, I'm a person that I love examples and stories. Can you share with us how maybe an example of a family you've helped?
Oh, absolutely. And I will give you a made-up name, of course.
Of course.
So let's look at Miss Thompson.
Okay.
Miss Thompson, 86 years old, limited income. And she has some chronic health conditions. So in starting to work with her, one of the first things that we want to do is look at the total person and start to identify what are the key things that are needed. So some of it in the case of Miss Thompson is we really needed to make sure that we were focusing on financial wellness, because right off the top, identify that as this is going to be something that's very important for this family. And this is something that we already know that we have limited income. So focusing on first with her financial wellness, along with long-term care planning, because we already know she has chronic health conditions. So if someone has chronic health conditions, we know we need to be thinking beyond today for their health care needs.
Right.
So thinking, okay, what's the right type of community that is going to possibly be one that they don't have the a history of exorbitant rate increases? Because, there are some cases where there's annual increases that are well above 5 to 7%.
Wow.
So how do we identifying a community that tends to have a bit more stable rate increases so that you can plan from that. Also one that may accept other type of financial programs. For example, is this a community that accepts Medicaid? She may be moving in today and may not need the Medicaid, but if they accept Medicaid, that's something for her to have as an option in the future. And then also knowing that it is a community that has the right type of license, which is very important, that has the right license to be able to provide future medical care that she may need.
That's interesting.
So looking and taking all of those factors into account, in this case for Miss Thompson, we were able to identify the right option for her that allows her to thrive. It gives her family financial peace of mind, because now we know, hey, there's an option for her in the future that's going to help cover some of her medical care costs that are needed, as well as it's a community she can age in place and not have to move again.
Right. Now, I'm glad you mentioned the move again. Have you ever had anybody that maybe something changed and they have to move? Do you also help them transition to another facility?
Absolutely.
Benefits
Sometimes that absolutely happens. A client may move in one stage, and at the time there's no chronic health conditions or anything that are noted, and the community was perfect at that point in time. But because their situation has changed, I absolutely follow up with my clients. And this is one of the benefits of continuously following up with them, because when that starts to happen, able to be there to help guide and work with the client as well as the community. And remember that comment that I made as we were talking about Ms. Thompson and the license type. This is where it becomes very important, because every community doesn't have the same license type, and every community may not necessarily be the best one for someone that may have chronic health conditions that even if they show up later in life.
Right. No, that's key. Thank you for sharing Miss Thompson's story. Do you have another story that you would like to share?
Sure. And this one actually may be a little common, and it's one for a client. Her name is Miss I can't speak this morning. Miss Ramirez. Miss Ramirez is 79 years old, and she also showed early signs of cognitive impairment. So some would say she possibly was showing early signs of dementia.
Okay, I'm glad we...
And so that's where the cognitive impairment starts to come in. In that particular case with Miss Ramirez, part of what we did is we started to look at what's the intellectual needs and what are the specific social engagement risk that may be present. Because for an individual that has cognitive impairment, impairment and or dementia, it's very important that we're looking at what's the overall engagement for that individual. Oftentimes, an individual that has a dementia diagnosis that is left alone in front of the TV, that doesn't necessarily promote any type of social engagement. So part of what we did in that case with her is we looked at, okay, what exactly is needed here? Right. And what's the right environment? Part of what we identified is she didn't necessarily need to be in a full-blown memory care because she was just showing early signs of cognitive impairment. Right. So she needed a situation where she was able to get cognitive fitness. So what are the types of brain games? What are the things that really drive engagement, and putting her in a very engaging environment that allowed her to thrive? But then later, if she needed memory care, she was in a situation where she could easily transition into memory care.
Okay, right, because there are some of these facilities that have a memory care center. So you kind of go to one place and then transition within the same community.
Exactly. You could do that within the same community. And I love the communities that have multiple levels. So they're recognizing someone that may be very early. Right. So what they need is more cognitive fitness type of programming as opposed to being in a full-blown memory care environment. So what they have are different levels.
I love that. So thank you for sharing that story, because I mean, I see it on my side a lot. I start to hear, oh, my spouse is having cognitive issues, or, what am I to do? And so that's when you would contact Amanda.
That's when you can give us a call. Reach out to us at 561-270-5727, and we're happy to work through that with you.
Yes. Now, for listeners who may be worried about a parent or a loved one, but don't even know where to start, what's that first step that they should take, and how does Care Patrol come into play at that initial?
I will tell you the first thing to do is give us a call. I know it's very tempting to go out on the internet and start to search, and Google is everyone's best friend. But what I will tell you is there's so much information that's there, and there's so much information that's unchecked. And then also there's many cases where you may go out innocently looking and starting that process online, put your information in, and all of a sudden your information is blasted everywhere. Give us a call. We're happy to walk you through that process, give you specific steps to follow. We will give you vetted recommendations, and then we'll work with you every step of the way.
Yeah, and there's no obligation.
No, there's never an obligation. We walk through with you exactly what's needed, and we go from there. Yeah. And you ultimately make the decisions, but we help guide you through, because there isn't a guide that's really there and available on the internet.
Now, is there a charge for a client?
No, we do not charge our clients for our services. And I know that tends to be a shock. Wait, it's free of charge.
I get that all the time, too.
That is because we're paid by the thousands of communities in our network. Care Patrol has the largest nationwide network. We have over 22,000 communities in our network.
Wow, that's amazing. And like you mentioned earlier in the show, if you want to transition or, go into Broward, or maybe go out of state, right, to get, be closer to family or friends,
just give us a call. We help you work through that.
That's wonderful. Well, Amanda, thank you so much for the work that you do and for sharing your expertise with us today. I truly appreciate you. You know that.
Thank you so much, Miriam. It means so much to have to be back here to be able to speak to you about what we do with Care Patrol and how we can support your listeners.
Yes, thank you. And one more time, that number is 561-270-5727, 561-270-5727, or you can call the station and they'll be happy to connect you with us. Again, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, and I wish everyone a lovely day.
Thanks for listening to Medicare Made Simple with Medicare Myriam right here on Legends 100.3. Medicare Made Simple is brought to you by United Insurance Experts. For more information, call 561-464-CARE. That's 561-464-CARE. Tune in next Saturday at 9 a.m. for more Medicare Made Simple with Medicare Myriam.